Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode review for last night's episode of Fear the Walking Dead. This was the 2-hour mid-season finale, that is right, entitled The Unveiling, that was episode 7, and Children of Wrath, which was obviously episode 8. They were aired both back-to-back, hence why it's called the 2-hour mid-season finale. Nonetheless, I thought that it was a really good episode, like both episodes, obviously, but I'm kind of just, it's kind of one at this point, right? So, nonetheless, this episode was great. It was action-packed. It definitely answered a lot of questions that we've had, like what's going to happen to the autos, what's going to happen to the farm, they're actually going to give it up, are they going to fight for it, what's going to happen, are wars going to ensue, questions like that were all answered during these two episodes. Now, the first episode was more or less leading up to a big war. I'm not saying a big war happened, okay? And also spoilers, okay? So if you haven't watched the episode, don't watch this, all right? Go watch the episode, come back, and then I guess we'll go from there. But either way. This was Season 3, Episode 7, and Season 3, Episode 8, The Unveiling, Children of Wrath. The episode actually ended up starting off with Alicia trying to track down Jake and basically make him aware of the situation that Walker potentially killed, their friends that left the farm, that left the ranch, right? So she went and tracked down him. He insisted on going to talk to Walker anyways. And when they got there, they ended up sort of coming across a deal, or a potential deal, rather, right? So they agreed to leave Alicia there, as sort of a hostage and actually take Ophelia. That is right, everybody. Ophelia is with Walker. We already knew this. We saw images and pictures. Well, I mean, that's what images are. We saw pictures of her in Walker's group, okay, in his crew. And we knew that she was sort of there. I mean, the big reveal was definitely this episode, but nonetheless, we get to see, okay? So Jake took Ophelia back to the ranch with him to basically talk to his father and get him to honor this deal, right? And they had swapped hostages because, well, I mean, that's kind of what you do when you're trying to honor a deal. You take one person, the other group takes another person, and then when you actually honor that deal, that's when you swap your people back, right? It makes sense. It really does. Madison had other plans when she realized that he left Alicia behind with Walker. And yeah, Madison is definitely not the leader of the group, of the ranch, but she made the call, and she also got Troy to basically back her on it, because Troy owes her for not telling everybody about Troy killing the people that left. I don't remember all their names, like Gretchen and Mike and, all of them. But with that being said, Troy did end up backing her plan later on in the episode. And, Madison just wants her daughter back. I mean, totally understandable. Nick's with her too. Nick actually ended up cutting his hair as well, which I thought was cool. And, of course, joining the militia, which we already knew from the sneak peek for this episode. Nick ended up trying to join the militia and, trying out for it. And, just not really trying out for it, but I would say practicing for it, right? And so he did that, right? He did that, which is good. It definitely gave him a place. He cut his hair off really short. Like I say, we seen pictures of the actor. I forget what his name is. God damn. I can't remember anything today. I'm sorry. Anyway, we seen him with short hair before, so we knew that he cut it off at some point. We didn't know if it would really come into play with the show, but obviously now we know. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it fits him, and I think it fits the whole trying to blend in ability, the whole blend in thing that Nick's going for. I think it really, Frank Delaney, that's what his name is, right? Yeah, that's what his real life name is. All right. Well, anyway, with that being said, they ended up swapping hostages. Madison basically led the team to go try to get Alicia back that night. They ended up assaulting the compound, like Walker's compound, getting Alicia back, killing a couple of their men in the process. And they got Alicia back, brought her back to home, and, that's kind of when the war ensued. Not necessarily even a war, because it wasn't really what we were exactly expecting. It wasn't a full-on Governor Season 4 versus Rick, and the crew, and just everything was out of control. Everybody was shooting, stuff like that. It wasn't really that, We kept on assaulting each other back and forth, right? So, One moment we attacked their group to get Alicia back. Next moment they attacked us. The ranch referring to as us, but you know, either way, I mean, they sort of just kept going back and forth. Anyways, after after Madison did that, their deal was basically broken. Okay. Jake went back actually the next day with Ophelia and basically explained to them that wasn't me. That wasn't me breaking the deal. That was my brother, and that was, you know, her mother rather, right? She wanted her daughter back. He tried to explain that to him. You know, he wasn't really having any of it. He actually almost scalped him before Ophelia stopped him. And then the next scene, basically after the commercial break, which it was just really sudden, you know, there was nothing leading up to it or anything like that. It was basically someone driving Ophelia back to the ranch and dropping her off there, you know, beaten up and bloodied like she had turned on her crew back there at the Black Hat. And, it didn't really make sense, you know what I mean? It didn't add up because we got to see her walking in, you know, to a place with Walker, you know, walking into a little building with Walker and, you know, probably going to talk to him. And she basically ended up explaining to Madison and everybody there, you know, that they found out that she knew them before and this group and this truce was basically broken, you know, and they sort of abandoned her. That's the story she gave, at least. Fast forward, you know, there's definitely a lot more things that happen. I'm trying to briefly do it because you don't want me to sit here and just go through the episode, you know, bit by bit. I'm just trying to review the really good parts, tell you what I got, you know, tell you what I thought of it. It's not a recap, right? It's not a recap. Even though it's kind of acting like a recap at this point. So yeah, Ophelia basically explained to them, you know, they abandoned her, right? She's now part of this group, you know, of the ranch group. She's currently living with Madison and Alicia. And basically people started getting sick, starting with the guards that were at the gate, basically keeping a lookout, for Walker and everybody, you know, coming to attack. They're keeping a lookout for them, right? And, they started getting sick. They started throwing up and just started dying, essentially. We had no idea what was going on with them. It was some sort of an attack from the inside. You know, something was poisoned, right? We know that. A lot of people were getting sick. A lot of people were dying, turning into walkers. And, I mean, that's not even... Like, this was an attack by Walker's group, but it wasn't really even... I think there's a hair on the camera. I apologize. Let me just get that for you. Okay. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't really attacked by Walker, like, directly. It wasn't them firing or shooting him. It was more or less of a strategic attack because it was later revealed that they wanted to just basically get the guards sick enough so that they could swoop in and take the ranch from under their noses, right? And that's what Ophelia was led to believe. She was led to believe that this was just supposed to make them sick. It wasn't supposed to kill anybody, you know, or anything like that. It was just supposed to make them sick. And it turns out Ophelia is exactly the one who did it. You know, she didn't get turned down by her group. She didn't get outed, you know, by them. She didn't get abandoned by them. It was a whole plan. You know, she basically got dropped off there looking bloody and just a mess because she was there to poison their coffee, basically. And, you know, get everybody sick. She was led to believe that it would just make the guards sick so that they come in, swoop in, and take the place from out from under them, right? That's not the case. It's not the case. It was later revealed after Nick got sick, mostly, that Madison ended up taking Ophelia hostage, going back to Walker's place at the Black Hat, and basically telling him, you know, point blank, I don't care if I die. You can kill me right here, right now. I'm going to take you with me. Just tell me what is killing my son, and I will leave. And he basically explained to her that it was anthrax. And anthrax, some pretty serious shit. Yeah, so... either way, though, he explained to her, you know, I think it was actually a quote. It was like, this lady has more balls than all of the autos combined, or something like that. And that's, I wouldn't necessarily say that was true. You know, I think Jake definitely has a lot there. But he doesn't he tries to negotiate constantly, you know, try to avoid violence. I get why he said that Madison has more balls than him, because she comes in here with a gun pointed to Ophelia's head, doesn't give a shit about what happens to her. She just comes in demanding, right? That's pretty that's to say the least. Obviously, she's a mother concerned for what's happening for her son, so that's That's what anybody would do, you know. I'm honest, that's what I would do, you know. If my son was dying, poisoned by something, you want to find out what it is so you can maybe treat it. Unfortunately, there's no treatment for anthrax, as he explained, but he said that, you know, if your son is young enough, which Nick's obviously like 19, that if he's young enough and he's strong enough that he'll pull through, he won't die, he'll be totally fine. A lot of people died on the other hand. There was a walker outbreak even, so they ended up trying to contain people and get all the people sick with anthrax basically chained up, handcuffed to beds in like in a makeshift infirmary, and it was a mess. It was a mess there at the ranch there for a while, but Nick was obviously chained up there too. He ended up getting unchained because he pulled through. I mean, he's an addict. He got through a lot of shit before all this happened, right? So if he's not strong enough to overcome it, you know, it wasn't a 100% deathly amount. Like if you touch it, it'll 100% kill you. You know, it was definitely diluted in coffee. So I mean, that probably had a hand in him being able to pull through it. But with that being said, you know, it was definitely still pretty serious, and probably nice to know that it was anthrax, just so they knew, you know, exactly what they were dealing with. It looks like Jake's sick a little bit too. He's not really letting it on though, you know, he really isn't. He's trying to make everybody think and seem that he's strong, and strong enough, you know, to keep going on and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that happened, right? So that's basically where they all got sick and she was chasing down Ophelia. That was where the first episode ended. I sort of got into the second episode without really noticing, and I apologize for that. But the rest of the second episode was very good, to say the least. I really enjoyed the second episode. I think a lot more than the first episode. The seventh, rather. Whatever you want to call it. The second half to the mid-season finale was, I think, one of the best episodes that we've seen in a long time. All of that stuff happened, you know, where she drove to the Black Hat and all of that stuff. And basically the ending of it was her, again, setting up another attack on Walker's place, basically trying to drive in there and get an advantage over Walker's group, you know, because they didn't have anything. They don't have a hostage. They don't have anything. They don't have any supplies that they can offer them because they already delivered their water and they basically took it and said, no, this is still not a deal. They don't have any leverage, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And they wanted to go in there and they wanted to get some leverage. And they know that Walker cares a lot about his ancestors and cares a lot about all of those antiques. In fact, he even has an entire trailer dedicated to keeping all of those things safe. All of those little, not necessarily trophies, but those little, antiques, I guess, right? Like, his family's bones, you know, all of that stuff, right? He's just really into, like, the Native American stuff. And, I mean, that's totally fine. But the thing is, Madison came in there with the plan to basically take that entire trailer, and she did just, there's a hair flying around, and she did just that. She basically strapped up the trailer to the back of a truck, and she drove away with it, you know, and used that basically as leverage. And when Walker started, you know, when she got back home, everybody started surrounding the compound, the ranch, you know, Walker's crew and everything like that. Eventually they got to a meeting basically saying, you know, you can have all your stuff back as long as you let us keep the ranch. And even so, we found your father's skull, you know, something that was kept from you. And this was actually kept under Nick's house. All right. Nick basically confronted Jeremiah about this quote that Jeremiah said earlier on in the previous episode. When he shot the floor, he was basically, when he was drunk that night, he shot the floor. He basically told Nick that there was blood in the ground. Nick ended up spending a lot of time digging up whatever was in the ground, and it turned out to be a skull. Yeah, he confronted Jeremiah about it. Jeremiah said that it was Walker's father and explained to them that they came, you know, a long time ago to try to take the land back and everything like that. And he ended up killing Walker's uncle. He ended up killing his father and a couple of other family members as well. So, I mean, at this point, I can totally understand why the hell Walker's mad. You know, this was his land. They took it from him, you know, and he wants it back. And not to mention, he killed his family. He killed his uncle. You know, he killed his father even when his father came to look for his brother, right? At this point, I'm 100% on Walker's side at this point, as well as Nick and Alicia is. Madison, not she doesn't really care. She doesn't really care whose side it is. You know, she just wants her people to be safe, which is understandable to an extent. But you always want to be on the right side. You know, that's just the thing. Because as Alicia put it, she basically said that, you know, we're living on this ranch, but do we really want to live on this ranch when it was built on this, pointing at the skull of Walker's father? Anyways, she offered Walker, you know, that trailer back with all of his stuff in it, you know, and she also offered the skull of his father. It ended up apparently not being the skull of his father. You know, he said that it wasn't my father. And he also said that he didn't necessarily care about all of his belongings, all of that antique. I'm just turning the monitor here real quick. I apologize. He ended up saying that he didn't care about all of his antiques. He just wanted the ranch back. I should really close the window, but I feel like I'm gonna die of just, you know, heat. Just gonna implode right here. You know, I'm just gonna pass out. I'm gonna sleep, and I'm not gonna wake up because this is very damn hot. And I apologize to have the windows open, but it is what it is. Anyway, what ended up happening was he basically said he doesn't care about it. We just want the farm back, and that was the end of it. But later on, we get to find out that he offered Madison something else, another deal, another way out, another way to keep the farm. And that was, he wanted her to kill Jeremiah Otto. He wanted revenge. He wanted Jeremiah Otto dead. He didn't say anything about Jake or Troy or anything like that. He wanted Jeremiah Otto dead. So Madison basically took this up with Jeremiah. Jeremiah is in his house, boarding up some stuff, you know, getting ready for a war. And now Madison basically explains to Jeremiah that he offered her another way for this farm to stay safe, you know, and for Troy and, you know, Jake and everybody there to keep the farm and keep the place and keep the ranch. And she explained to him rather that you need to die, right? And he basically asks, you know, did you come here to kill me? And she took her gun out and placed it on the table, and she said, no, you're going to do it. Basically trying to explain to him that everything that you've done in your entire life, from being an abusive father to an abusive husband, you know, to all of this is your chance to make it right. You know, this is your chance. You've killed his people. You know, you've killed his people countless times. This is your chance to make it right and also make a safe and secure place for your children and for the people that you care about on this place, on this farm, on this ranch, right? And he doesn't want any of it. You know, to an extent, he's definitely being selfish, right? He definitely is. But at the same time, that's a very, very hard decision. And I feel for him. You know, it's not really a decision that he can make on the a snap of his fingers. You know, he can't just decide that right then and there. But at the same time, he wasn't even thinking about it. You know, he basically just said, no, that's not going to happen. You know, I'm not going to kill myself. That's a coward's way out. Basically trying to play the high and mighty, you know, card. Basically saying that this ranch wasn't meant to defend cowards. And that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? It's about securing a future for your children, you know, and if you don't do this, you're all going to die. You know what I mean? All of your soldiers are sick. Everybody on that front line is down and out right now. You have nothing left. Okay, you don't have another option. There's no other way to put it. You don't have another option. The only other option is for you to either die, suck it up, do it yourself, or your entire family is going to die. And that's kind of where I drew the line. That's where I understood where Madison was coming from, because he doesn't want to do this no matter what, but what he doesn't understand is he's going to die anyway. But the thing is, he wants to die where he's not being a coward, but at that same time, that way that he dies of not being a coward also includes the death of his sons and the death of the rest of his family that he cares about and the rest of his people there on that land as well. He's very selfish in that way. And he basically explained to Madison, you know, just kill me, whatever, get it over with. And that's when Nick walked into the room and Jeremiah just started talking shit, basically saying, you know, You'll never be as strong as Madison. That's why I like her so much, you know, everything like this, because she is basically, I think he was about to say, you know, she's basically me. And right before he got it out, Madison picked up the gun, but she didn't shoot. Nick actually killed Jeremiah Otto. Right before he got out, like right before he was about to get out that entire sentence about she is like me, which I think is what he was going to say, Nick randomly shot him, just pulled up his gun and shot him, you know, and Madison was about to, you know, she was hesitating though, you know, we get to find out that she's done it before though, you know, she killed her father, you know, and to protect her mother, you know, she did that before, when she was like a kid, like a teenager or whatever. And that's what we get to find out. You know, she's done that before. She's had to protect her family before. Oh, look, another jump cut. I like trying to do these videos, you know, in one sitting without cutting a whole lot now, you know, because I like to try to talk and get used to talking long periods so that I get better at making videos, right? That's what I kind of like doing. That's what I like challenging myself with. But people like interrupting, you know, constantly. And people like beeping their fucking horns outside as well. Either way, though, that's what happened. You know, Nick shot him in the head. Madison quickly put a plan into action, basically trying to stage a suicide. She put Nick's gun next to his hand, and then sat down at the table, told Nick to get the hell out of here. Next, we get to find Troy and Jake, you know, basically run into the house, hearing the gunshot, and they find him dead. And then they remove his body from the house. Madison walks up to Otto's coffin inside of a barn. You know, this was sort of done, you know, not necessarily in the sanction of Troy and Jake, because they don't really know what she's doing, you know what I mean? Like, they don't know that she made this deal with Walker, right? They have no idea. Anyway, Madison walks up to Otto's coffin, inside of a barn. And then we don't really know what she's doing. You know, it just sort of cuts to a next scene where Madison basically meets with Walker, and places a backpack at his feet. He opens it and finds Otto's head inside. We don't necessarily get to see it, but we see like a top shot of it, like after he kind of starts zipping it up. They probably didn't want to, you know, show too much gore or anything like that, because I mean, I guess that would be a lot. But either way, I mean, they've shown more things than that before, right? So I don't know why they decided to skip it. I don't know. Maybe it'll be an extra on the Blu-ray or something. But I think it was pretty cool. Anyway, she basically brings him Otto's head. You know, as you know, basically deal closes. He nods at Madison and then walks away with the head. And that's where the mid-season finale cut, guys. And through that entire section of you know, after Otto died, there's a really badass song called Stand By Me by K.I. Theory. And I thought it was a really, really cool cover that they did. I thought it was amazing. I really did. I quite enjoyed it. It's even on Spotify, and I have it now. So I definitely recommend you guys go check it out. You know, I will try to leave a link in the description below for you guys to listen to it. I thought it was cool. If you guys were wondering, you know, what the song was or who sang it, you know, K.I. Theory. Link in the description below. Anyways, guys, that was my episode review for this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead. Again, this was Season 3, Episode 7, and Season 3, Episode 8, entitled The Unveiling and Children of Wrath. This was the 2-hour mid-season finale. I'm not exactly sure when the mid-season premiere is going to come back up. That would obviously be Season 3, Episode 9. But, I mean, we're not done yet. You know what I mean? We're not done with Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead. We still have 8 more episodes, and then The Walking Dead comes back. So if I honestly had to guess, I would say... let me check. Hold on. Let me just guesstimate real quick. Let me just guesstimate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would say maybe August 28th. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. That's a guess. I'm not obviously 100% sure about that. I would say August 28th, maybe August 21st, somewhere around there. It's probably not going to be a 2-month break, because there's not a whole lot of time left between now and when The Walking Dead starts. You know, they don't really have the usual amount of time, you know, from when they have the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead to the mid-season premiere, you know, from like the beginning of December to the, you know, midway through February, right? They don't have that time, right? They only have, I would say, a month, roughly. And, you know, even that's pushing it, you know, because that would bring it up basically to the release of The Walking Dead Season 8, which, who knows, maybe they might have a break between Episode 16 of Fear the Walking Dead and Episode 1 of The Walking Dead. I don't know, unless it's going to start instantly. I have no idea. Either way, everybody, that's it. All right, that's my episode review. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm tired of getting interrupted, so I'm going to cut the video here. And I will see you guys in the next one. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you like it up. Well, with a like. I mean, that's the only way you can like it up. And leave a comment in the section below as well. Talk to me about the episode. What did you guys think of it? And as well, check out that song. Link in the description below. I think it's pretty cool. And you probably will enjoy it if you like The Walking Dead. And Fear the Walking Dead, rather. I'll see you later. Okay, bye.